A job application process can be quite confusing. That's why I talked to Catherine from our career office, and she has the do's and don'ts for the application process for you. So now I'm here with Catherine from our career office. Catherine, quickly introduce yourself. What is the career office and what is your role there?
So the IU Career Office, we're here to support students throughout their entire journey with IU, so from day one up until when they graduate. And we help with their professional development. So whether you want to get a better job, you want to go into a leadership position, or maybe you're not even sure where you want to go with your career, we're here to support with that. So we give expert knowledge, advice, guidance, and tools to help equip our students to take the next step in their careers.
Sounds super exciting. And today we're here to talk about the application and the application process and the do's and don'ts within the application process. So can you quickly summarize the entire process for us from A to B? What is part of the application process?
So there are various different steps that you're going to have to navigate when you're searching for a new job. So we start with the job search itself. So going onto job websites, having a look what's actually out there and what actually fits with your needs, what you're looking for, as well as your background and your skills. It's not as easy as just clicking on the apply button though. You need to have a think about your application documents, so your CV and your cover letter. These really need to be optimized for every single application, which does take time, but it's definitely worth it. You get more quality feedback from employers and you save more time and energy in the long run. From there, can be a little bit of a waiting game. Some companies get back to you super quickly. Maybe you get something in a couple of days, maybe a week, but some of them might take a little bit longer, so some patience sometimes is required at that stage. But fingers crossed, you get a positive response from the company and you're invited to an interview. At that point, you can start preparing for your interview. Now, it's great to be relaxed and to be authentic in your interview, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't prepare for it. Research is absolutely your friend in this case. So check out the company's website, check out their social media channels, have they been in the press, what's going on in the industry as well as with that particular company.
So that was a really nice overview, but my next question is, what is actually included in the application package? What is part of it?
So there are two key documents that you absolutely have to have. So first of all, your CV, or sometimes people know this as resume or Lebenslauf in German. So this is a document that should be no longer than 2 pages. Even if you've got lots and lots of experience, you do need to be thoughtful what's the most relevant information to include in there. A 1-page CV is also absolutely fine, particularly if you're a student who maybe hasn't gotten as much work experience yet. This tends to be a bit of a drier document. Lots and lots of facts go into your CV. What have you done? Tasks, responsibilities, achievements. So I get a bit of an overview of who you are as a candidate. But because that's a bit of a dry document, this is where the second document comes in, the cover letter. So this is where you can start to express yourself a little bit more and we see who you are as a person. Now, the most common mistake with the cover letter is that we will be a bit too descriptive in telling that story. So it still needs to be relevant. Why this company, why you, why this job. You might also want to consider submitting maybe some certifications or copies of your qualifications. So for example, if you're not working in your mother tongue, maybe you need to submit a language certificate, for example. References can be something that you can include in the application package, but these are usually requested later on in the process anyway.
So we are now in Germany and the Germans seem always to be a bit more formal and everything, but how formal should my cover letter or my application package and the whole, how formal should it be?
It's a very good question, and you're right. Here in Germany, obviously, there's a slight difference potentially with the tone and the register depending on who it is you're speaking to. So we have this Du and Sie form. So Du, a little more informal. You do see it in Berlin, for example. We duzen quite a lot. But it's always good to err on the side of caution when it comes to your application packages. Remember, you don't know this person, you maybe don't know this company. So always err on the side of caution and go with that more formal. If you're in doubt, have a look at the company website, check out things like their social media channels. You can get a bit of a feel for the company culture and what kind of language are they using on their websites. How are they talking with their customers, for example? This can give you a bit of an indication. But if in doubt, go with formal, professional, and then when you get to that interview stage, you'll find out how they like to communicate.
So now you already described what the career office does, so students are coming to you. But what are the most questions you get asked by our students actually regarding the application?
We get quite a few. So probably one of the most common is I'm sending out lots and lots of applications, but I'm not really getting any positive feedback or any feedback from employers. Why is that? Can you help me with that? It might also be asking for help on, how do I make a CV for the German market, for example, or cover letters. Nobody's favorite thing to have to write. Not quite sure, well, what do I actually need to include in this to impress a recruiter? And a lot of students also ask us about, what can I actually do with my degree? What kind of job options are open to me? So there's a lot of also exploration of potential career opportunities.
So what are common mistakes within the cover letter and in the entire application process,
Yeah, so it's easy to fall into sort of the most common pitfall with cover letters, which is being too descriptive. So we want to tell our story. That's quite natural, sort of who we are, where do we come from, what led us to applying to this job. But the actual purpose of your cover letter is to analyse your suitability for this particular job at this particular company. So there are sort of three key questions we want to be answering. Sort of why you, why this company, and why this particular job. So if you can really focus in on those things, that can help your cover letter enormously. So don't just repeat the content from your CV. I read your CV, I liked your CV, that's why I've come to the cover letter. Yeah. I want you to expand upon it. So don't just tell me I did, X, Y, or Z. Tell me why that's relevant for this particular job role. Remember, hiring you should make their life easier. So think about this when you're writing your cover letter.
Saying you have been lucky, you have been invited to the job interview, but now it's the waiting game is happening and you don't know, is it going, did it went well, did it went wrong? When is the timing to actually maybe call them and ask what is the status of my application? When should I do this?
Very good question. We often all feel a little bit stressed and anxious, when am I going to hear back? Obviously, you've put a lot of time and energy into the interview process. You would like to get that feedback as soon as possible. It's always good to clarify at the end of any sort of interview. Generally, the interviewers will ask you, so do you have any questions for us? So it's always very good when asking these sort of questions if you can follow up with, okay, do you know roughly when you think you'll get back to me with feedback? If you can get a date from them, this can, one, help you feel a little less stressed. Two, then you have a time by which you can expect an answer. If for whatever reason feedback doesn't come, for example, if they say, oh, we'll get back to you by the 25th, end of the day. Maybe the 25th comes and goes, you've not received any feedback. Then you already have an automatic opening. You can get in touch with them the next day on the 26th and say, hey, just checking in. We agreed that we would get back in touch on the 25th. Just want to follow up, what's the status? People get sick, things happen. It's not a problem. These things occasionally will happen, but then you've got automatically a date you can follow up with. So always ask in the interview process what the next steps are and by when you can expect feedback.
I hope you found these tips helpful. Catherine, thank you a lot for those insights, and I hope our students out there know better the do's and don'ts of the application process. And don't forget to check out our other videos on the channel about careers.